Welcome to a chapter a day. Listen carefully, because this message did not arrive by accident. There was a time when you believed you were behind, a time when you thought you missed your moment, a time when you looked back and whispered, "I wasted so many years." But hear this now, and hear it clearly. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was lost. Nothing was delayed. The universe does not measure time the way the mind does. The universe measures alignment. And the moment you align, the moment you shift, the moment you stop resisting and start allowing, everything begins to move at once. Years compress into days. Delays dissolve into acceleration. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. This audiobook is not about effort. It is not about chasing. It is not about fixing the past. This is about receiving what has been waiting for you all along. Because the universe is not punishing you. The universe is responding to you. And when you change the signal, when you tune your energy, when you choose alignment over struggle, the restoration begins. Opportunities return. Confidence returns. Money returns. Joy returns. Time itself seems to return. By the end of this journey, you will understand one truth so deeply that it will change how you see everything. The universe restores everything, once you stop blocking it. Now breathe. Open your awareness. And let's begin. Chapter 1. Accept that nothing was ever wasted. Settle into this truth now. Nothing in your life was wasted. Not the years. Not the relationships. Not the delays. Not the mistakes. Nothing was wasted. Everything was preparing you. This is not a comforting idea. This is a law-based reality. The universe does not operate in error. The universe does not punish. The universe responds. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Everything that stays away is also responding. Everything that shows up late arrives precisely when alignment is complete. And alignment is not about time. Alignment is about vibration. The mind counts years. The universe counts readiness. So when you say, "I lost time," you are speaking from the mind. When you say, "Nothing was wasted," you are speaking from alignment. And nothing is more important than the way you feel. If you feel regret, you vibrate regret. If you feel disappointment, you vibrate delay. If you feel resentment toward the past, you keep recreating it. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. This is why acceptance is not passive. Acceptance is discipline. It's about discipline. It's about the discipline to stop arguing with what already happened. It's about the discipline to stop rehearsing old stories. It's about the discipline to stop using the past as evidence against yourself. Because the universe is not using your past against you. Only you are doing that. Look closely now. Every experience you label as wasted did something specific. It clarified desire. It sharpened preference. It created contrast. It summoned wisdom. Contrast is not failure. Contrast is creation. Without contrast, you would not know what you want. Without knowing what you want, there is nothing to align with. Without alignment, nothing flows. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Those years you thought were lost. They taught you what no book could teach. They gave you emotional clarity. They refined your standards. They strengthened your discernment. Nothing was wasted. Everything was preparing you. Think of people who started late. The artist who found their voice in their 40s. The entrepreneur who succeeded after decades of struggle. The person who met the love of their life after believing it was too late. From the outside, it looks like delay. From the inside, it was alignment catching up. The universe does not rush outcomes. It stabilizes frequency. You were not late. You were calibrating. You were becoming someone who could hold what you asked for. Because receiving requires capacity. And most people ask for things they are not yet vibrationally ready to receive. So the universe waits, not as punishment, but as preparation. This is why forcing never works. This is why chasing exhausts you. This is why effort without alignment creates burnout. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. If you feel behind, you act rushed. If you act rushed, you misalign decisions. If you misalign decisions, you extend delay. So the instruction is simple, but it is disciplined. You stop telling the story of loss. You stop saying, I should have. You stop measuring yourself against imaginary timelines. Because timelines are human inventions. Alignment is universal law. Say this now and feel it, not as hope, but as certainty. Nothing was wasted. Everything was preparing me. Say it again. Nothing was wasted. Everything was preparing me. Notice what happens in your body when you say it. The shoulders soften. The breath deepens. The nervous system settles. That feeling is alignment. And everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing, especially internally. This is where transformation actually begins. Not by fixing the past, not by reliving mistakes, but by releasing resistance to what already occurred. When you stop fighting the past, energy returns to the present. When energy returns to the present, momentum begins. When momentum begins, time collapses. Years compress. Progress accelerates. Outcomes arrive quickly. Not because you forced them, but because you finally stopped blocking them. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate peace with your past, the world mirrors peace forward. If you vibrate trust, life cooperates. If you vibrate readiness, opportunity appears. This is not about pretending things were perfect. This is about recognizing that nothing was random. You learned what you needed to learn. You saw what you needed to see. You felt what you needed to feel. And now you are here. That alone proves preparation worked. Now comes the behavioral instruction. Every time the mind tries to revisit regret, you interrupt it. Not with argument, with redirection. You say, I'm going to allow the resources of the universe to help me work this out. You say it calmly. You say it consistently. You say it until the body believes it. Because it's about discipline. It's about emotional discipline. It's about vibrational discipline. It's about choosing alignment again and again. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. You do not heal by analyzing the past. You heal by releasing resistance to it. And the moment you release resistance, the universe responds. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. You are not catching up. You are arriving. You are not late. You are aligned. Nothing was wasted. Everything was preparing you. And now that preparation is complete, something else becomes necessary. Because acceptance opens the door, but momentum requires a new relationship with time itself. You've stopped fighting the past. Now it's time to stop arguing with time. Chapter 2. Stop arguing with time. Time is not your enemy. Time is not against you. Time is not something you have lost. Time is responding to you. The only problem with time is resistance to it. And resistance always slows momentum. When you say, I should be further by now, you create friction. When you say, I'm behind, you activate delay. When you say, I wasted time, you argue with reality. And reality never loses an argument. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing, including how time seems to move in your life. The universe does not experience time as linear. The universe experiences sequence based on alignment. This is why some people wait decades and then suddenly everything changes. This is why breakthroughs feel instant after long periods of stillness. This is why time collapses when resistance dissolves. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. If you feel behind, your actions come from pressure. If your actions come from pressure, they are misaligned. If they are misaligned, progress slows. This is not punishment. This is precision. The universe is exquisitely precise. It delivers when the signal is clean. It waits when the signal is mixed. And regret is mixed signal. Regret says, I don't trust how things unfolded. Regret says, I think I know better than the timing that brought me here. Regret says, I am resisting what is. Resistance blocks momentum. Always. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate urgency, the world mirrors obstacles. If you vibrate impatience, the world mirrors delay. If you vibrate acceptance, the world mirrors flow. This is why arguing with time is so costly. You don't argue with a clock. You argue with your interpretation of where you should be. And that interpretation is optional. Time is neutral. It does not judge. It does not punish. It does not reward effort. It responds to alignment. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. When you stop measuring yourself against imaginary deadlines, something remarkable happens. The body relaxes. The nervous system stabilizes. The mind clears. That clarity is alignment. And alignment compresses time. This is not metaphorical. This is observable. When you are relaxed, you make better decisions. When you make better decisions, outcomes accelerate. When outcomes accelerate, time seems to speed up. But when you are tense, you overthink. When you overthink, you hesitate. When you hesitate, momentum stalls. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is why the instruction here is not to work harder. It is to stop fighting the idea of being late. Say this now, slowly and deliberately. I release the illusion of being behind. Say it again. I release the illusion of being behind. Notice the word illusion. Being behind is not a fact. It is a story, and stories shape vibration. You are not behind life. Life is responding to you. And when you release the story, the response changes. The universe does not need you to hurry. It needs you to be aligned. Hurry creates noise. Alignment creates clarity. This is why effort without ease never lasts. This is why pushing creates exhaustion. This is why forcing delays manifestation. It's about discipline, not time discipline, emotional discipline, the discipline to pause instead of panic, the discipline to breathe instead of rush, the discipline to trust instead of control. When you trust timing, timing collaborates with you. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. So here is the behavioral instruction. Every time the thought arises, I'm running out of time, you interrupt it immediately. You do not argue with it. You do not analyze it. You replace it. You say, I release the illusion of being behind. Then you follow it with, I'm going to allow the resources of the universe to help me work this out. You are not trying to convince the mind. You are training the vibration. And it's about discipline. Consistency matters more than intensity. Calm repetition matters more than emotional force. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. As this becomes habitual, something shifts. You stop rushing conversations. You stop forcing decisions. You stop chasing outcomes. And paradoxically, everything begins to move faster. Because time collapses when alignment replaces regret. Opportunities appear unexpectedly. People respond more quickly. Ideas arrive fully formed. Not because you pushed harder, but because you stopped resisting where you are. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. When you vibrate trust, the world opens. When you vibrate patience, pathways appear. When you vibrate certainty, results follow. Time was never against you. Time was waiting for your signal to stabilize. And now it has. Say it again with certainty. I release the illusion of being behind. Feel the steadiness in that statement. That steadiness is power. You are no longer racing life. You are cooperating with it. And cooperation unlocks momentum. You have stopped fighting the past. You have stopped arguing with time. Now something even more important becomes possible. Because once you stop resisting when things happened, You must decide how you relate to where you are now. And that requires a shift from regret to readiness. You are not late. You are ready. Chapter 3. Shift from regret to readiness. Regret is not reflection. Regret is resistance. Regret does not improve the past. It anchors you to an old vibration. And vibration is everything. You do not experience life based on what happened. You experience life based on what you are tuned to now. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And regret is something you are doing. When you replay old decisions, you reactivate old frequencies. When you criticize your former self, you stay energetically connected to former outcomes. When you say, "If only I had known," you vibrate lack of trust. The universe does not respond to hindsight. It responds to signal clarity. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Regret feels heavy. Readiness feels grounded. Regret looks backward. Readiness stands present. This is why regret slows manifestation. Not because you are being punished, but because you are not signaling availability. Regret says, "I'm not okay with how things unfolded." Readiness says, "I am available for what's next." And availability is everything. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate regret, the world mirrors hesitation. If you vibrate readiness, the world mirrors opportunity. Readiness is not excitement. Readiness is not urgency. Readiness is stability. It is the calm knowing that says, "I can hold what I asked for now." Most people want outcomes before they are ready to receive them. They want abundance without capacity. They want love without emotional availability. They want success without internal steadiness. So the universe waits, not as denial, as coordination. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And the shift from regret to readiness is one of the most powerful changes you can make. Because regret keeps asking, "What went wrong?" Readiness asks, "What's ready to come in now?" That question alone changes vibration. Notice this. When you are in regret, your body tightens. When you are in regret, your breath shortens. When you are in regret, decisions feel heavy. But when you feel ready, the body opens. The breath deepens. The mind quiets. That quiet is alignment. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is why readiness is not something you wait for. It is something you decide. Readiness does not require proof. Readiness does not require perfection. Readiness does not require certainty about how. Readiness is a declaration. Say this now, and feel the finality in it. "I am ready now, and that is enough." Say it again. "I am ready now, and that is enough." That statement ends negotiation. It ends self-judgment. It ends the habit of postponing your own permission. You do not need to fix yourself to be ready. You do not need to heal every memory. You do not need to understand every lesson. You need to be available. And availability is a vibrational state. The universe does not ask, "Are you perfect?" It asks, "Are you open?" Regret closes. Readiness opens. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate openness, life enters. This is why the instruction here is practical and disciplined. Every time regret appears, you do not suppress it. You do not indulge it. You complete it. You say, "That version of me did the best they could with what they knew." Then you say, "I am ready now, and that is enough." This is not positive thinking. This is energetic closure. And closure frees energy. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. When you stop leaking energy into the past, energy consolidates in the present. When energy consolidates, readiness stabilizes. When readiness stabilizes, delivery begins. This is why so many breakthroughs appear suddenly. From the outside, it looks instant. From the inside, readiness finally locked in. You were not delayed. You were not forgotten. You were becoming someone who could hold what you asked for. And now you can. It's about discipline. The discipline to stop rehearsing regret. The discipline to stop punishing earlier versions of yourself. The discipline to stand in the present moment without apology. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Feeling ready does not mean you know what's next. It means you trust yourself to respond when it arrives. And trust is magnetic. When you trust yourself, the universe trusts you with more. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now notice how this changes behavior. You stop hesitating before action. You stop waiting for permission. You stop downplaying desire. You move when inspired. You pause when uncertain. You allow clarity to guide pace. That is readiness in motion. And motion does not require force. It requires allowance. Say it again slowly. I am ready now, and that is enough. Let that statement land. Because once you are ready, the next step is unavoidable. Readiness naturally shifts you into a new mode. A mode where you are no longer trying to make things happen. A mode where you allow life to respond to you. A mode where effort gives way to reception. You have released the past. You have stopped arguing with time. You have declared readiness. Now the question becomes, are you willing to receive? Because wanting is one frequency, but receiving is another. And most people never make that shift. You are about to. Chapter 4. Activate the receiving mode. Most people think creation requires effort. They believe manifestation is something you push into existence. It is not. Creation responds to allowance, not force. Effort is useful for action. But effort does not summon outcomes. Alignment does. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And receiving is something you allow, not something you earn. The universe is not asking you to work harder. It is asking you to stop blocking what is already moving toward you. This is the misunderstanding that keeps people stuck. They strain. They try. They hustle. They push. And then they wonder why things feel heavy. Because effort without allowance creates resistance. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. If you feel tense, you are not receiving. If you feel anxious, you are not receiving. If you feel like you must control outcomes, you are not receiving. Receiving feels different. Receiving feels calm. Receiving feels open. Receiving feels expectant, but not needy. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate effort, the world gives you tasks. If you vibrate struggle, the world gives you obstacles. If you vibrate allowance, the world gives you cooperation. This is why so many people stay busy but unfulfilled. They are active but not aligned. Receiving requires trust. Trust that life is responsive. Trust that timing is intelligent. Trust that you do not need to micromanage outcomes. Trust is not passive. Trust is disciplined. It's about discipline. The discipline to relax when the mind wants to rush. The discipline to soften when the body wants to brace. The discipline to expect support instead of resistance. Say this now, and let the body feel it. I allow good things to come easily. Say it again. I allow good things to come easily. Notice the difference between that and trying to make things happen. Ease does not mean inaction. Ease means no internal friction. When friction disappears, movement accelerates. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Receiving also requires softness. Softness is misunderstood. Softness is not weakness. Softness is openness without defense. A defensive posture repels. A relaxed posture invites. This is why tension blocks reception. When you are tense, the nervous system signals threat. When the nervous system signals threat, the body closes. When the body closes, perception narrows. And narrowed perception misses opportunity. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Softness allows you to notice subtle openings. Softness allows intuitive timing. Softness allows inspired action. Receiving also requires expectation. Not hope, not wishing. Expectation. Expectation is quiet confidence. It does not ask if. It simply knows when. When you expect good things, you prepare for them unconsciously. You speak differently. You choose differently. You respond differently. Expectation organizes behavior. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate expectation, the world meets you halfway. This is why people who always seem lucky are not lucky. They are receptive. They are not surprised by good outcomes. They are ready for them. And readiness accelerates delivery. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now the behavioral instruction becomes precise. You practice receiving before results arrive. When someone offers help, you say yes without guilt. When an opportunity appears, you consider it without suspicion. When life gives you ease, you do not question it. You let good be good. This is discipline. The discipline to stop believing things must be hard. The discipline to stop earning rest. The discipline to stop proving worth. You are not rewarded for suffering. You are rewarded for alignment. Say it again slowly. I allow good things to come easily. Let that statement reprogram effort. Effort does not disappear. It becomes inspired. Action becomes fluid. Decisions feel obvious. Momentum builds naturally. You are no longer dragging life forward. Life is responding to you. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. When you are in receiving mode, you notice less force and more flow. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop asking, what should I do? You start noticing, what's already opening? This is alignment in action. And alignment multiplies results. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. If something feels strained, you pause. If something feels heavy, you wait. If something feels smooth, you move. Receiving sharpens discernment, and discernment keeps you in rhythm with life. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. You are no longer trying to impress the universe. You are cooperating with it. You are not proving readiness. You are demonstrating allowance. And allowance is the gateway to abundance. You have released the past. You have stopped racing time. You have declared readiness. You have activated receiving. Now something else must be addressed. Because even in receiving mode, many people unconsciously tune into scarcity. They receive, but only in small amounts. They allow, but with limits. So the next step is essential. You must adjust the frequency you are tuned to. Because what you receive depends on what you are tuned to receive. You've opened the door. Now you must set the channel. Chapter 5. Tune into the frequency of restoration. Nothing arrives first in form. Everything arrives first in frequency. Outcomes do not lead. Energy does. This is not philosophy. This is mechanics. Before anything appears in your life, it appears as a signal. Before momentum becomes visible, it becomes vibrational. Before restoration becomes physical, it becomes energetic. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And what you are doing, constantly, is tuning. You are always tuned to something. You are never neutral. You are tuned through thought. You are tuned through emotion. You are tuned through expectation. And the frequency you hold determines the results you receive. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Feelings are not reactions to life. They are indicators of your tuning. When you feel hopeful, you are tuned upward. When you feel calm, you are tuned steadily. When you feel satisfied, you are tuned powerfully. But when you feel worried, you are tuned to lack. When you feel impatient, you are tuned to absence. When you feel doubtful, you are tuned to delay. The universe does not override your tuning. It matches it. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. This is why effort without alignment produces inconsistent results, and why alignment without force produces acceleration. Restoration does not come from trying to fix what is broken. Restoration comes from tuning to wholeness. Abundance is not something you get. Abundance is something you align with. And alignment is not complicated. It is practiced. Say this now calmly and deliberately. I tune myself to abundance now. Say it again. I tune myself to abundance now. Notice how tuning feels different from chasing. Tuning does not strain. Tuning does not demand. Tuning adjusts. Just like a radio. You don't shout at the signal. You don't force the music to play. You turn the dial until clarity appears. And clarity appears when resistance disappears. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Most people try to manifest by focusing on outcomes. But outcomes are downstream. The source is frequency. If you tune to scarcity, you receive partial results. If you tune to abundance, results multiply. If you tune to restoration, life reorganizes. Restoration is a frequency. It is the frequency that says, what was scattered is returning. What was delayed is accelerating. What was withheld is now available. You do not demand restoration. You embody it. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. So the work becomes emotional calibration. You begin your day by noticing how you feel. Not judging it. Not fixing it. Just noticing. Then you gently guide it upward. You do not leap from worry to joy. You move from worry to neutrality. From neutrality to ease. From ease to confidence. This is discipline. It's about discipline. Not dramatic shifts. Consistent adjustments. Every small improvement in feeling changes your frequency. Every improvement in frequency changes what can reach you. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. This is why some people seem to receive more with less effort. They are tuned. They expect cooperation. They anticipate support. They assume restoration. And assumptions are powerful. Assumptions become behavior. Behavior becomes signal. Signal becomes experience. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. So here is the behavioral instruction. Throughout the day, pause and ask one simple question. What am I tuned to right now? If the answer is tension, you soften. If the answer is impatience, you slow. If the answer is doubt, you stabilize. You do not force positivity. You restore alignment. And restoration is cumulative. The more often you tune upward, the easier it becomes. The easier it becomes, the faster results appear. This is why momentum feels sudden. From the outside, it looks like luck. From the inside, it is frequency consistency. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel abundant, you notice abundance. When you notice abundance, you expect more. When you expect more, you receive more. This is not circular logic. It is vibrational logic. Say it again now. I tune myself to abundance now. Let that statement be an action, not an affirmation. You are not asking for abundance. You are matching it. And when you match it, restoration becomes inevitable. Lost resources reappear. Opportunities reconnect. Time reorganizes. Not because the universe decided to reward you, but because you finally tuned to what was always available. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And now that you are tuned, something subtle but important must happen. Because tuning alone is not enough. You must stop identifying with the version of yourself that struggled to survive. Because as long as you carry the identity of struggle, you keep tuning back to it. You have tuned into abundance. Now you must release the identity that blocks it. Chapter 6. Release the identity of struggle. Struggle is not noble. Struggle is not required. Struggle is not proof of worth. Struggle is a habit of identity. And identity is vibration. You do not attract based on what you want. You attract based on who you believe you are. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And one of the most powerful things you do, often unconsciously, is identify. Many people unknowingly identify as someone who must struggle, someone who must push, someone who must suffer before receiving. This identity repeats itself, not because the universe demands it, but because the signal remains unchanged. The universe does not reward effort. It responds to alignment. You are not rewarded for suffering. You are rewarded for resonance. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. And the struggle identity feels heavy. It sounds like this. Nothing comes easy for me. I have to work harder than everyone else. If I relax, things will fall apart. These are not facts. They are declarations. And declarations shape experience. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate struggle, the world mirrors resistance. If you vibrate effort for worth, the world demands proof. If you vibrate survival, life stays difficult. This is not punishment. It is precision. Struggle becomes familiar. And familiarity feels safe to the nervous system, even when it hurts. So people cling to struggle because it feels known. But known does not mean aligned. Alignment feels lighter. And lightness can feel unfamiliar at first. This is why releasing struggle requires discipline. It's about discipline. The discipline to stop wearing exhaustion as identity. The discipline to stop bonding with hardship. The discipline to stop telling stories that reinforce difficulty. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. When you say, "I've always had to fight for everything," the universe hears, "Keep delivering opposition." When you say, "Life has always been hard," the universe hears, "Maintain this pattern." The universe does not evaluate truth. It mirrors signal. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Struggle feels tense. Alignment feels steady. Struggle feels clenched. Alignment feels open. Struggle feels urgent. Alignment feels inevitable. Say this now, and notice the release in your body. I no longer need to struggle to deserve. Say it again. I no longer need to struggle to deserve. That sentence removes a lifelong burden. Because deserving is not earned. Deserving is inherent. You were worthy before effort. You were worthy before pain. You were worthy before achievement. And worthiness does not increase through suffering. This is one of the deepest misunderstandings people carry. They believe struggle proves value. But struggle only proves resistance. Alignment proves readiness. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. So when you release the struggle identity, you stop broadcasting resistance. You stop bracing for difficulty. You stop anticipating obstacles. You stop preparing for disappointment. And when expectation changes, experience follows. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. This is why some people appear to move effortlessly. They are not lucky. They are not avoiding responsibility. They simply do not identify with struggle. They identify with cooperation. They expect life to respond. And it does. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. So the behavioral instruction here is subtle but powerful. When you notice yourself saying, "This is going to be hard. I have to push through. Nothing comes easy," you pause, and you replace it, not with fantasy, but with alignment. You say, "I'm going to allow the resources of the universe to help me work this out." Then you say, "I no longer need to struggle to deserve." You are not denying effort. You are removing resistance. Effort can exist without struggle. Action can exist without suffering. This is the difference between force and flow. Force drains. Flow sustains. And sustained energy creates momentum. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. As you release the struggle identity, you may feel uncomfortable at first. Ease can feel suspicious. Calm can feel unproductive. But this is recalibration. You are teaching the nervous system that safety does not require tension. And when the nervous system relaxes, intuition sharpens. You make cleaner decisions. You choose better timing. You conserve energy. And results multiply. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel steady, you act wisely. When you act wisely, outcomes improve. When outcomes improve, trust deepens. And trust keeps you aligned. Say it again now, firmly. I no longer need to struggle to deserve. Let that statement replace effort-based worth. You are not here to prove value. You are here to express alignment. And alignment is efficient. You have tuned to abundance. You have released the identity of struggle. Now something else must happen. Because even after struggle ends, many people remain emotionally attached to the past. They carry unfinished stories, unresolved moments, lingering loops, and those loops quietly drain energy. So the next step is essential. You must let the past complete itself. Because incomplete cycles keep pulling you backward. You are moving forward now. It's time to close what no longer belongs in your frequency. Chapter 7. Let the past complete itself. The past is not waiting for your approval. The past is not incomplete because you resist it. The past is complete. You are the one who has not yet recognized it. Unfinished emotional loops are like open circuits in your energy. They drain your present power. They pull you backward without your conscious notice. They repeat themselves in relationships, choices, and moments of indecision. You do not need to analyze them. You do not need to understand them fully. You do not need to justify them. Completion happens through acceptance, not analysis. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel tension about the past, you are still tethered to it. When you feel regret, you are still broadcasting the old signal. When you feel resentment, you are still vibrating what no longer serves. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And if you are vibrating the past, the present cannot move freely. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. Acceptance releases. Acceptance frees. Acceptance allows restoration to arrive. Say it now, slowly, and feel the weight of it lifting. The past is complete. I am free. Say it again. The past is complete. I am free. Notice the subtle shift in your body. The shoulders release. The chest opens. The nervous system softens. This is completion. You do not need to relive every detail. You do not need to re-experience every pain. You simply acknowledge that what has happened has served its purpose. Every mistake, every delay, every heartbreak was preparing you. Every detour, every failure, every pause was alignment in action. Everything you thought was lost was simply energy reorganizing for your benefit. Nothing was wasted. Everything was preparing you. And now the loop ends. Completion is no longer something you earn. Completion is a recognition of what already is. When you say, "The past is complete. I am free," you are not denying lessons. You are not forgetting experiences. You are returning the energy to the present. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Unfinished emotional loops often appear as repeated thoughts. They appear as lingering guilt. They appear as stories you keep telling yourself. Every time they arise, you do not resist. You do not judge. You complete. You say, "The past is complete. I am free." And you let it go. This is the discipline of freedom. It is not about forcing peace. It is about removing resistance. It is about not arguing with what has already occurred. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. The mind wants to analyze. The mind wants evidence. The mind wants certainty. But the heart wants alignment. The heart wants release. The heart wants freedom. Completion happens when you allow the past to be what it was, without interference. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate attachment, the past repeats. If you vibrate resistance, the past grows louder. If you vibrate acceptance, the past is done. You cannot change what has occurred. You can, however, change how it influences you. Every thought you think about the past is a signal to the universe. Every emotion you carry about the past determines your present momentum. Every story you tell yourself about the past determines what future energy arrives. Say it one more time. The past is complete. I am free. Notice the difference between this and regret. Regret tugs, pulls, binds. Freedom opens, releases, aligns. The moment you let the past complete itself, your present power surges. Energy that was trapped in old loops flows forward. Opportunities that were delayed now accelerate. Momentum that was stalled now ignites. You are no longer living in debt to yesterday. You are no longer trying to fix what cannot be changed. You are no longer bound by what has already served its purpose. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. This is why completion is transformative. Because the energy you release becomes energy you can use. The momentum you free becomes momentum you can ride. The alignment you allow becomes alignment you can hold. Now comes the behavioral instruction. Whenever a memory, regret, or old pattern arises, do not fight it. Do not dissect it. Do not relive it. Say instead, the past is complete. I am free. Repeat it. Let it anchor. Let it circulate through your body. This is how you stop old energy from contaminating new reality. This is how you reclaim power that has been unconsciously tethered. This is how restoration becomes inevitable. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Feel the freedom. Feel the release. Feel the momentum of life moving toward you. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. You have let the past complete itself. You have freed the energy. You have restored alignment. And now, something else becomes possible. Because once the past is complete, your vibration becomes purely present. And present vibration is magnetic. You are now ready to amplify your receiving power fully. Chapter 8. Expect sudden acceleration. The universe is not linear. Progress is not gradual. Momentum does not creep. It often moves all at once. What feels slow, what feels dormant, what feels like nothing is happening, this is the preparation stage. This is the alignment stage. This is the stillness before movement. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Even when it feels like nothing is changing, energy is moving. You are already creating. You are already shaping outcomes. You are already setting the stage for acceleration. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Patience is not passive. Patience is alignment. Patience is momentum in disguise. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate doubt, the world mirrors delay. If you vibrate frustration, the world mirrors obstacles. If you vibrate readiness, the world mirrors sudden acceleration. The universe often appears to wait. It appears to pause. It appears to withhold. But it is not withholding. It is aligning. It is coordinating. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And when alignment is complete, momentum appears all at once. This is why breakthroughs feel sudden. This is why opportunities appear out of nowhere. This is why long periods of stillness are often followed by rapid, undeniable progress. It is not luck. It is law. It is vibration. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. You cannot force sudden acceleration. You cannot chase it. You cannot demand it. You can, however, expect it. Expectation is a signal. Expectation organizes energy. Expectation prepares the field for what is ready to arrive. Say it now. Things move quickly for me now. Say it again. Things move quickly for me now. Feel the certainty in that phrase. Feel it in your chest. Feel it in your breath. Feel it in the nervous system. This is not hopeful thinking. This is calibrated alignment. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And what you are doing is expecting the sudden flow. Momentum often comes after stillness. This is natural law. Even rivers pause before they cascade. Even seeds lie dormant before they bloom. Your stillness has been productive. Your waiting has been strategic. Your preparation is now complete. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. The energy of acceleration responds to readiness. It does not respond to panic. It does not respond to pushing. It responds to openness, alignment, and expectation. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. When you vibrate readiness, the universe aligns. When you vibrate expectation, the universe delivers. When you vibrate certainty, results arrive. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now the behavioral instruction becomes clear. Whenever you sense nothing is happening, do not panic. Do not analyze. Do not judge the pace. Instead say, "Things move quickly for me now." Say it repeatedly until your body feels steady. Say it while breathing deeply. Say it while walking, sitting, or even waiting in line. This is training your vibration. This is broadcasting readiness. This is signaling the universe that sudden acceleration is expected and welcomed. Notice how your perception changes. Small signs feel bigger. Opportunities appear sooner. People respond faster. Momentum, once invisible, becomes obvious. Your life no longer moves step by step. It flows in waves. And each wave carries more than the last. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel aligned, acceleration feels natural. When you feel expectant, speed feels inevitable. When you feel ready, the universe cannot help but deliver. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. This is why people who practice patience and readiness are often shocked by how quickly life changes. Not because they worked harder, not because they hustled more, not because they earned it, because they matched the frequency of sudden arrival, because they embodied expectancy without struggle, because they allowed energy to move. Say it again firmly. Things move quickly for me now. Feel it vibrate through your chest. Feel it circulate through your thoughts. Feel it anchor in your energy. You are no longer stuck in linear time. You are no longer tethered to slow progression. You are now aligned with the sudden acceleration of life. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now notice one subtle but crucial thing. Acceleration does not need control. It does not need planning. It does not need pushing. Acceleration is a response to readiness, expectation, and vibration. Your job is not to create the movement. Your job is to match it. Your job is to allow it. Momentum often comes when you least expect it. Opportunities arrive from unexpected sources. People show up at the perfect time. Resources appear fully formed. And when they arrive, you are ready. Say it one last time slowly. Things move quickly for me now. Feel it. Believe it. Embody it. You have prepared. You have aligned. You have restored. You are ready. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And now, the next step is inevitable. Because sudden acceleration requires clarity of focus. It requires disciplined direction. It requires knowing exactly what you want and holding it without attachment. Chapter 9. Trust the invisible rearrangement. Not everything that matters makes noise. Not everything that moves is visible. Not everything that works announces itself. Some of the most powerful shifts happen quietly. What looks like stillness is often deep rearrangement. What looks like delay is often precise preparation. What looks like nothing is often everything changing beneath the surface. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. The universe does not rush construction. It restructures first. When you cannot see progress, It does not mean progress is absent. It means progress is happening where your eyes are not looking. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. If you feel anxious during quiet phases, you introduce resistance. If you feel impatient, you disrupt timing. If you feel distrustful, you interfere with coordination. But if you feel calm, something extraordinary happens. Calm communicates trust. Trust allows complexity. Complexity enables precision. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate suspicion, life hesitates. If you vibrate trust, life rearranges smoothly. If you vibrate certainty, outcomes organize quickly. This is why invisible phases are so important. They are not pauses. They are reconfigurations. Relationships are repositioning. Resources are rerouting. Information is aligning. Timing is being calibrated. And none of this requires your supervision. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Your role during invisible rearrangement is not action. It is stability. Most people sabotage progress during quiet phases by panicking. They start pushing. They start forcing. They start doubting. And doubt scrambles signal. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Protection often looks like delay. That opportunity that didn't work out, it spared you from misalignment. That door that didn't open, it prevented premature movement. That plan that stalled, it allowed refinement. The universe never removes without replacing. It never delays without coordinating. But it only continues working smoothly if you allow it. Say this now slowly and steadily. Even now, things are aligning for me. Say it again. Even now, things are aligning for me. Notice how that statement steadies the nervous system. That steadiness is cooperation. When you trust invisible rearrangement, you stop interrupting it. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. This is why patience is powerful. Patience is not waiting. Patience is non-interference. It's about discipline. The discipline to stay emotionally regulated when outcomes are unseen. The discipline to remain receptive without evidence. The discipline to trust structure before form. Most people need proof before belief. But alignment works in reverse. Belief stabilizes frequency. Frequency organizes reality. Reality appears last. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. So here is the behavioral instruction. When life feels quiet, you do not label it as stagnation. You label it as restructuring. When momentum seems absent, you do not assume failure. You assume recalibration. When answers are delayed, you do not rush decisions. You wait for clarity to finish forming. And you repeat, even now, things are aligning for me. You say it in traffic. You say it when waiting for responses. You say it when outcomes are pending. This trains trust. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. When you vibrate trust during uncertainty, life accelerates coordination. Invisible rearrangement also protects you from misusing momentum. Acceleration without alignment creates chaos. Speed without structure collapses. Movement without clarity exhausts. So the universe reorganizes first. It ensures stability before speed, capacity before expansion, readiness before arrival. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. This is why your job is not to demand movement. It is to remain aligned while movement is prepared. And alignment feels calm. Alignment feels neutral. Alignment feels quietly confident. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel aligned, you don't chase updates. You don't force timelines. You don't micromanage outcomes. You allow. And allowance is cooperation. Say it again firmly. Even now, things are aligning for me. Feel the certainty in that phrase. It is not hope. It is understanding. Understanding that unseen movement is still movement. Understanding that protection is still progress. understanding that preparation is still creation. You are not being tested. You are being positioned. You are not stalled. You are being coordinated. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And now, something important shifts. Because once you trust invisible rearrangement, you no longer try to control outcomes. You stop tightening your grip. You stop managing every detail. You stop forcing precision. And that opens the next doorway. Because alignment deepens when you release control. You've trusted the unseen. Now you must choose cooperation over command. Because control blocks flow. But alignment invites it. Chapter 10. Choose alignment over control. Control feels productive. But control is not power. Control is resistance wearing the mask of responsibility. Alignment is power. When you try to control outcomes, you tighten your grip on life. When you tighten your grip, energy stops moving. When energy stops moving, flow disappears. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And control is something you are doing. The universe does not respond well to micromanagement. It responds to cooperation. Control assumes you must manage every detail. Alignment assumes life is already intelligent. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Control feels tense. Alignment feels steady. Control feels urgent. Alignment feels inevitable. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate control, the world mirrors friction. If you vibrate trust, the world mirrors cooperation. If you vibrate alignment, the world mirrors flow. This is why letting go is not weakness. Letting go is strategy. You do not let go of desire. You let go of resistance. You do not surrender intention. You surrender tension. Say this now, calmly and clearly. I trust the process unfolding. Say it again. I trust the process unfolding. That phrase removes pressure. Pressure distorts timing. Pressure clouds perception. Alignment clarifies. Most people believe control keeps them safe. But control actually limits options. When you insist on how something must happen, you restrict pathways. When you demand timing, you disrupt coordination. When you force decisions, you miss precision. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Alignment leaves space. Space allows solutions you could not imagine. Space allows timing you could not predict. Space allows ease you did not plan for. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you are aligned, you feel guided instead of pressured. You feel responsive instead of reactive. You feel present instead of obsessed with outcomes. This is why alignment produces better results with less effort. The universe can only assist when you stop interfering. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. Control vibrates mistrust. Alignment vibrates confidence. Confidence tells life, I can handle what arrives. I do not need to force outcomes. I trust the intelligence arranging this. Say it again. I trust the process unfolding. Let it settle into the body. This trust is not blind. It is informed. You have already seen alignment work. You have already experienced timing surprise you. You have already witnessed solutions arrive unexpectedly. You are not guessing. You are remembering. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now the behavioral instruction becomes specific. When you feel the urge to control, pause. Notice the body. Notice the tension. Notice the urgency. Then soften. You say, I'm going to allow the resources of the universe to help me work this out. Then you say, I trust the process unfolding. This interrupts resistance. You do not stop taking action. You stop forcing action. Aligned action feels clean. It feels timely. It feels obvious. Control-driven action feels heavy. It feels rushed. It feels draining. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is how you know which mode you are in. When you are aligned, You do not need constant reassurance. You do not chase updates. You do not monitor outcomes obsessively. You allow. An allowance multiplies effectiveness. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. When you let go of control, life steps forward to assist. People offer help without being asked. Solutions appear without strain. Paths open without force. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped resisting. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Alignment also sharpens intuition. When control relaxes, intuition speaks. When intuition speaks, timing improves. When timing improves, results accelerate. This is why aligned people appear confident without arrogance. They are not guessing. They are listening. Say it again with calm certainty. I trust the process unfolding. Feel how that trust stabilizes you. You are no longer wrestling life. You are collaborating with it. And collaboration unlocks flow. You have trusted invisible rearrangement. You have released the need to control. You are fully aligned. Now comes the next shift. Because once alignment replaces control, you gain access to a powerful tool. The ability to feel the future before it arrives. And what you feel now determines what arrives next. Because emotion is the bridge. You are ready to use it deliberately. Chapter 11. Feel the future before it arrives. The future does not arrive first as form. It arrives first as feeling. Emotion is the bridge. Emotion is the translator. Emotion is the delivery mechanism. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you feel consistently. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And feeling is something you are doing, whether consciously or not. Most people wait for evidence before they feel fulfilled. But the universe works in reverse. Feeling comes first. Form comes later. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel fulfilled, you broadcast completion. When you broadcast completion, life fills in the details. When the details fill in, reality reorganizes. This is why waiting to feel good delays manifestation. Waiting says, I will feel fulfilled when it arrives. Alignment says, I feel fulfilled now, and arrival follows. Say this now gently and calmly. I feel fulfilled now. Say it again. I feel fulfilled now. Notice that fulfillment does not require proof. It requires permission. Fulfillment is a state, not a circumstance. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate longing, the world mirrors distance. If you vibrate lack, the world mirrors absence. If you vibrate fulfillment, the world mirrors completion. Feeling fulfilled now does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that alignment is complete. You are no longer asking. You are allowing. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Emotion accelerates arrival because emotion organizes behavior. When you feel fulfilled, you stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop forcing. And those behaviors remove resistance. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is why visualization alone is incomplete. Visualization without emotion is empty. Emotion is what makes it real. But you do not need vivid images. You need stabilized feeling. Fulfillment feels calm. Fulfillment feels steady. Fulfillment feels satisfied. It does not feel ecstatic. It does not feel frantic. It does not feel desperate. It feels done. Say it again slowly. I feel fulfilled now. Let that feeling spread through your chest. Let it soften your breath. Let it slow your thoughts. This is the feeling that tells the universe. There is no urgency. There is readiness. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. When you feel fulfilled, you trust timing. When you trust timing, you stop interfering. When you stop interfering, coordination improves. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. This is why people who feel fulfilled often receive more. They are not grasping. They are not waiting. They are not checking. They are receptive. Fulfillment is magnetic. It invites cooperation. It invites ease. It invites flow. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Now the behavioral instruction becomes very clear. You practice fulfillment before evidence appears. You do not force it. You do not exaggerate it. You simply settle into it. At random moments during the day, pause. Ask yourself, if this had already worked out, how would I feel right now? Then feel that. Not dramatically. Not intensely. Just gently. That feeling is enough. Say it again. I feel fulfilled now. This does not stop action. It refines action. When you feel fulfilled, you move when inspired. You pause when uncertain. You respond instead of react. Fulfillment sharpens discernment. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Feeling the future now collapses time. Because the universe does not need proof. It needs signal consistency. And consistent fulfillment is a clear signal. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is why impatience slows things down. Impatience says, it's not here. Fulfillment says, it's done. And the universe always responds to the dominant signal. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. When fulfillment becomes your baseline, results follow naturally. Not because you demanded them, but because you stopped contradicting them. Say it one more time, calmly and confidently. I feel fulfilled now. Let that become familiar. Because familiarity stabilizes vibration. And stable vibration produces consistent results. You are no longer imagining the future. You are inhabiting it emotionally. And emotion is the doorway. You have trusted timing. You have released control. You have aligned your feeling with completion. Now comes the next expansion. Because once you feel fulfilled, you stop clinging to outcomes. And that creates room for something powerful. Life begins to surprise you in ways better than you planned. Because expectation without attachment is fertile ground. You are ready to open to that. Chapter 12. Allow life to surprise you. The universe is creative. More creative than your plans. More intelligent than your expectations. More generous than your imagination. When you insist on how something must arrive, you narrow the field. When you release attachment to form, possibilities multiply. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And openness is something you are doing. Most people unknowingly block their best outcomes by insisting they arrive in familiar ways. They expect life to repeat known patterns. They look for answers where answers used to come from. But restoration rarely arrives through the old door. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Attachment feels tight. Openness feels spacious. Attachment says, it must look like this. Openness says, I allow something better. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate rigidity, the world mirrors limitation. If you vibrate openness, the world mirrors opportunity. If you vibrate curiosity, the world delivers surprise. Surprise is not chaos. Surprise is alignment exceeding expectation. Many of the greatest outcomes arrive sideways, through people you didn't expect, through timing you didn't plan, through paths you didn't consider. And if you are closed, you miss them. If you are open, you receive them. Say this now, gently and clearly. I welcome unexpected blessings. Say it again. I welcome unexpected blessings. Notice how that phrase loosens the grip of control. That looseness is magnetic. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. When you welcome surprise, you stop micromanaging outcomes. When you stop micromanaging, coordination improves. When coordination improves, life delivers with elegance. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Openness feels curious. Openness feels light. Openness feels available. It does not feel careless. It feels confident. Confident that you do not need to anticipate every detail to be safe. Confident that life can meet you intelligently. Confident that you can respond to what arrives. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. This is why openness multiplies possibilities. When you are open, you notice invitations. When you notice invitations, you act intuitively. When you act intuitively, outcomes improve. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now the behavioral instruction becomes very simple. You stop dismissing what doesn't match your expectations. You stop saying, "That's not what I asked for. That's not how I thought it would happen." Instead, you pause, and you ask, "What if this is rearranging something in my favor?" Then you say, "I welcome unexpected blessings." This shifts perception instantly. Unexpected does not mean unwanted. Different does not mean wrong. Unfamiliar does not mean misaligned. Often it means better. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel open, you allow complexity. When you allow complexity, solutions become elegant. When solutions are elegant, effort decreases. This is why people who allow surprise often experience leaps. They didn't push harder. They didn't plan better. They allowed more. The universe does not need you to predict outcomes. It needs you to receive them. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Surprise requires trust. Trust that even if you don't understand immediately, clarity will follow. Trust that timing will make sense in retrospect. Trust that alignment precedes explanation. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate suspicion, you reject assistance. If you vibrate openness, you receive support. This is why rigidity feels exhausting. It requires constant vigilance. Openness feels relieving. It allows cooperation. Say it again calmly. I welcome unexpected blessings. Let that phrase soften expectation. You are not lowering standards. You are expanding channels. You are not giving up intention. You are releasing limitation. You are not being passive. You are being receptive. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. As openness becomes your baseline, something subtle happens. You stop clinging to timelines. You stop forcing certainty. You stop narrowing outcomes. And life begins to surprise you gently. Small coincidences appear. Helpful people emerge. Opportunities align naturally. These are not accidents. They are responses. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. You are no longer insisting on control. You are cooperating with intelligence. And intelligence always finds a way. Now notice this important distinction. Openness does not mean indecision. Openness means availability. You still know what you want. You simply allow how it arrives to remain flexible. That flexibility multiplies speed, because rigidity slows coordination. But openness allows quick rearrangement. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel open, life feels friendly. When life feels friendly, you move confidently. When you move confidently, momentum increases. Say it one last time, with relaxed certainty. I welcome unexpected blessings. Let that become your posture. Because once openness is established, something else must be stabilized. Receiving good things once is easy. Receiving consistently requires holding capacity. You must learn how to maintain alignment daily, without fluctuation. That is the next step. You have opened to surprise. Now you must hold the receiving power steadily. Chapter 13. Hold the receiving power daily. Receiving is not a moment. Receiving is a state, and states must be stabilized. Most people experience alignment in flashes. Moments of clarity, moments of openness, moments of ease. Then they return to old habits. Not because alignment failed, but because it was not held. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And what you are doing daily matters more than what you do occasionally. Consistency stabilizes new energy. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Small daily alignment beats intense effort. Intensity burns out. Consistency compounds. This is law. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If your vibration fluctuates wildly, results arrive inconsistently. If your vibration stabilizes, results become predictable. This is why receiving must become routine. Not dramatic, not exhausting, simple and steady. Say this now calmly. I receive today, easily and fully. Say it again. I receive today, easily and fully. Notice how this statement grounds you in today. You are not trying to receive everything at once. You are not reaching into the future. You are available now. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Daily receiving does not require long rituals. It requires awareness. Awareness of how you feel when you wake up. Awareness of tension during the day. Awareness of subtle resistance when things feel uncertain. Then gentle correction. This is discipline. It's about discipline, not forcing positivity, not suppressing emotion, not denying reality, just adjusting alignment again and again. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Here is the behavioral instruction. At the beginning of each day, before engaging with the world, pause. Take one breath and say, I receive today easily and fully. You are setting a tone. You are declaring availability. You are stabilizing signal. Throughout the day, you return to it. If you feel rushed, you soften. If you feel frustrated, you slow. If you feel doubtful, you steady. And you repeat, I receive today, easily and fully. This is not repetition for comfort. This is repetition for calibration. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Consistency does not mean perfection. You will have moments of resistance. You will feel off at times. That is normal. The difference now is you correct quickly. You do not spiral. You do not dramatize. You return to alignment. This is how receiving becomes stable. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. When receiving is your default, life responds more generously. You notice small wins. You acknowledge progress. You appreciate cooperation. And appreciation strengthens alignment. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is why daily alignment works. It trains the nervous system to remain open. It trains the mind to expect support. It trains behavior to respond instead of react. And when alignment is trained, manifestation becomes ordinary. Not dramatic. Not rare. Reliable. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Small daily choices compound quickly. A calmer response. A softer breath. A paused reaction. These are not minor. They are signal stabilizers. And stable signals produce stable results. Say it again with quiet confidence. I receive today easily and fully. Let that be enough. You do not need to monitor results constantly. You do not need to track progress obsessively. You trust the accumulation. Accumulation is invisible at first. Then it becomes obvious. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is why those who maintain alignment daily seem grounded even during change. They are not immune to uncertainty. They are practiced in stability. And stability allows flow. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now notice something important. As receiving stabilizes, doubt loses credibility. You start seeing evidence, small confirmations, subtle proof, and proof reinforces belief, which leads to the next stage. Because once evidence appears, you must learn to let it replace doubt instead of questioning it. This is crucial. You are aligned. You are receiving. Now you must allow belief to solidify. Chapter 14. Watch evidence replace doubt. Doubt does not disappear through argument. Doubt disappears through evidence. And evidence does not come first. Alignment comes first. Proof follows alignment, not the other way around. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And when alignment stabilizes, reality begins to respond visibly. Most people wait for proof before they believe. But belief is not a reaction. Belief is a position. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When belief stabilizes emotionally, evidence appears naturally. When belief fluctuates, proof arrives inconsistently. When belief is steady, results stack. This is why doubt loses power over time. Not because you fought it, but because it becomes outdated. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate skepticism, the world delivers ambiguity. If you vibrate trust, the world delivers confirmation. If you vibrate certainty, the world delivers clarity. Evidence is not dramatic at first. It arrives quietly, subtly, in small confirmations. A message arrives at the right moment. A delay resolves unexpectedly. A conversation opens a door. These are not coincidences. They are responses. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And once evidence appears, it compounds. Because belief strengthens behavior. Behavior sharpens signal. Signal accelerates response. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you feel aligned, you notice proof. When you notice proof, belief stabilizes. When belief stabilizes, more proof arrives. This is momentum. Say this now, calmly and confidently. I see proof everywhere. Say it again. I see proof everywhere. Notice how this shifts perception. You are no longer scanning for problems. You are noticing confirmation. This does not mean ignoring challenges. It means interpreting them correctly. Challenges no longer mean it's not working. They mean adjustment is happening. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. Once belief stabilizes, doubt feels unnecessary. It no longer protects you. It no longer serves you. It simply fades. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Evidence stacks quickly once belief stabilizes because resistance has dropped. You are no longer contradicting your desires internally. You are no longer sending mixed signals. You are coherent. Coherence is powerful. Coherence organizes reality efficiently. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. So the behavioral instruction here is precise. When evidence appears, even small, acknowledge it. Do not dismiss it. Do not minimize it. Do not explain it away. You say internally, that's confirmation. Then you say, I see proof everywhere. This reinforces alignment. It tells the nervous system that trust is justified. It tells the mind that belief is grounded. It tells the universe that you are noticing response. And what you notice expands. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. This is why people who expect proof receive more of it. They are not surprised by confirmation. They are receptive to it. Doubt, on the other hand, constantly demands reassurance. And reassurance fragments signal. But certainty relaxes. And relaxed certainty is magnetic. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. As proof accumulates, your behavior changes naturally. You hesitate less. You decide faster. You trust intuition more. And intuitive action is always well-timed. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. This is why alignment becomes self-sustaining. Belief creates evidence. Evidence reinforces belief. Belief stabilizes vibration. And vibration creates experience. Say it again, with calm assurance. I see proof everywhere. Let that phrase become observational, not aspirational. You are not hoping for proof. You are recognizing it, because it is already present. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now notice something important. Evidence does not always arrive in the form you expect. Sometimes it arrives as ease, sometimes as relief, sometimes as clarity. And those are proofs too. Feeling lighter is proof. Feeling calmer is proof. Feeling more confident is proof. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Internal change is the earliest evidence of external shift. And internal change always precedes visible results. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. So you no longer argue with doubt. You let it expire, because proof has replaced it. You are no longer convincing yourself. You are observing reality respond. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now comes the final integration. Because once belief is stable and proof is visible, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for permission. You stop checking alignment. You start living as if restoration is guaranteed. Because at that point, it is. You are no longer hoping. You are expecting. And expectation locks it in. You have aligned. You have received. You have observed proof. Now you must live accordingly. This is the final step. Chapter 15. Live as if restoration is guaranteed. At some point, seeking ends. Not because desire disappears, but because certainty arrives. Certainty is not loud. Certainty is not dramatic. Certainty is settled. Certainty locks in manifestation. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And now, what you are doing is living from expectation. Faith is not hope. Faith is expectation. Hope waits. Expectation prepares. Hope asks, what if? Expectation says, of course. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When restoration is guaranteed, urgency dissolves. When urgency dissolves, resistance disappears. When resistance disappears, life flows freely. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. If you vibrate uncertainty, life reflects hesitation. If you vibrate certainty, life mirrors commitment. Living as if restoration is guaranteed does not mean pretending. It means behaving consistently with alignment. You stop bracing for disappointment. You stop hedging emotionally. You stop withholding trust. Because you are no longer protecting yourself from the future. You are welcoming it. Say this now calmly and conclusively. It is done. I live accordingly. Say it again. It is done. I live accordingly. Notice how this phrase ends negotiation. There is no argument in it. No waiting. No checking. Just decision. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. When certainty becomes your posture, behavior changes naturally. You make choices without overthinking. You speak without self-doubt. You move without second-guessing. Not recklessly. Clearly. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. Certainty feels grounded. Certainty feels steady. Certainty feels relaxed. It does not rush. It does not prove. It does not convince. It expects. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. Expectation signals readiness. Readiness tells life, I can receive this. I know how to hold this. I am prepared for consistency. This is why living as if restoration is guaranteed maintains results. You no longer dip in and out of alignment. You no longer fluctuate emotionally around outcomes. You no longer oscillate between belief and doubt. You are coherent. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Now the behavioral instruction becomes embodied. You ask yourself throughout the day, if restoration is guaranteed, how would I respond right now? Then you respond that way. You choose calm over panic. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose trust over control. This is not effort. This is alignment in motion. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. When you live accordingly, you stop waiting for signs. You stop asking for reassurance. You stop monitoring progress. Because you already know. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way you vibrate. Certainty simplifies life. Decisions become easier. Boundaries become clearer. Energy becomes cleaner. You are no longer negotiating with the past. You are no longer measuring against lost time. Time has collapsed. Because certainty exists now. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Living as if restoration is guaranteed also changes how you relate to challenges. Challenges no longer threaten outcomes. They refine them. Delays no longer frustrate you. They adjust precision. Uncertainty no longer shakes you. It sharpens discernment. Nothing is more important than the way you feel. This is why certainty feels peaceful. You are no longer fighting reality. You are cooperating with inevitability. Say it again with finality. It is done. I live accordingly. Let that phrase anchor you. This is not affirmation. This is orientation. Orientation determines behavior. Behavior determines vibration. Vibration determines experience. The world treats others the way they vibrate and treats you the way they vibrate. You have moved through acceptance. You have released struggle. You have aligned with timing. You have trusted rearrangement. You have opened to surprise. You have stabilized receiving. You have watched proof replace doubt. Now you live from certainty. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. Everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. And what you are doing now is living as someone whose restoration is inevitable. No urgency. No desperation. No resistance. Just alignment. Just expectation. Just calm, grounded certainty. Say it one final time. It is done. I live accordingly. And let life respond. Because it always does. In closing, take a moment now and feel this truth settling in. Nothing was stolen from you. Nothing slipped past you. Nothing escaped your reach. The universe has been waiting, not for perfection, but for alignment. And alignment begins with a decision. The decision to stop telling the story of loss. The decision to stop rehearsing regret. The decision to stop asking, why did it take so long? And instead to say, I am ready now. When you say that, life responds. Doors open. Energy shifts. Momentum builds. Not slowly, not eventually, but naturally. From this moment forward, your only work is this. Stay aligned. Stay open. Stay receptive. Let ease replace effort. Let trust replace tension. Let expectation replace doubt. And now, here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, speak this aloud every morning and every night. The universe restores everything to me, easily, fully, and now. Say it until you feel it. Feel it until you expect it. Expect it until it becomes your reality. Because restoration is not coming. It has already begun.